WSTKS-FM Worldwide, digital collaborative learning for the 21st century. Hello again, everyone. Yes, it's Professor Schwartz here in the WSTKS-FM Worldwide studios, with the usual mug of coffee close by and Onyx the cat lazing around on the desk behind my computer screen. How are you? I hope the semester is treating you well so far. Welcome back for another podcast designed to help you navigate your coursework more effectively. You know, 2 or 3 times each semester, a student will remark to me, "Hey, Professor Schwartz, I've done group work before, and we cooperated pretty well most of the time. Aren't cooperative learning and collaborative learning really the same thing?" Well, while many use the terms interchangeably, and there are some similarities between the two, they are not the same thing, so we want to avoid confusing them. That said, let's first identify the similarities between cooperative and collaborative learning before we look in more detail at the differences. First, both cooperative and collaborative learning put students in a group setting to achieve some kind of common academic goal. Second, learning is most meaningful when all group members participate equally in the activity. Third, social interaction between members is vital to support learning and intellectual development in both a collaborative and a cooperative setting. Finally, active rather than passive learning is encouraged in both cooperative and collaborative learning. But let's look now at how the two approaches differ. The Teacher Academy blog, see the link in the description below, defines cooperative learning as, quote, an instructional method in which students work in small groups to accomplish a common learning goal with the guidance of the teacher, end quote. In cooperative learning, then, group members work toward the creation of a common assignment or project. Students are not assessed against each other or against other groups. In cooperative learning, the group is emphasized rather than the individual students comprising it. A cooperative learning approach sees students putting their heads together in their search for objective truth as they complete their work. And finally, cooperative learning is what we call teacher-centered, in that the instructor remains at the forefront of the figurative classroom, leading with carefully developed lessons, plans, goals, and objectives. Cooperative learning has a long history and works reasonably well for many students, but there are potential shortcomings to the approach. Since the instructor remains in charge and determines what is most important, students do not always have the freedom to determine what it is about the subject matter that interests them most. Another drawback of the cooperative approach is that students work in parallel to each other, often with minimal interaction or exchange of ideas. Too often, working together manifests itself as a short-term activity, usually delayed as long as possible until a project due date looms or interpersonal issues occur. In the latter instance, students often advocate personal agency and responsibility, turning to the instructor if or when difficulties arise. Collaborative learning, on the other hand, is student-centered, with the instructor taking a back seat and the students themselves playing a much more prominent role in their own learning. The collaborative approach emphasizes individual strengths and celebrates them within the team. Unlike cooperative learning, in a collaborative setting, there is a search for shared subjective truth through a process of ongoing discussion, dialogue, negotiation, and mutual support. Finally, in collaborative learning, a work session's goals and objectives are largely determined by the students themselves rather than the instructor. The latter might provide some general guidance or parameters for an assignment or project, but students largely enjoy considerably greater freedom when it comes to what they take away from each week's class, work session, or indeed the entire semester. In a collaborative context, students take the lead in their learning and related activities each week as part of an integrated team, with each person fulfilling a specific role based on individual ability, strengths, and interests. Student teams take charge of the learning process, the related progress, and the completion of their coursework. As indicated already, instructors step back to the rear of the figurative classroom, acting more as facilitators than leaders in charge of learning. Intervention by instructors is minimal within a collaborative setting, in other words. Students decide what specifically interests them about the subject matter under examination and have considerable freedom to determine how best they might demonstrate and share their ideas about course materials. When done the right way, collaborative learning is an ongoing and democratic process in which every student team member is involved throughout the learning process, all points of view are considered equally, and every member of the team plays a distinct role in the development of the routine assignments and larger projects. Another important part of the collaborative learning approach is that student teams self-monitor, self-assess, and determine how collective team processes can be revised to function more smoothly. Not only does this practice help student teams build community, but looking at their collaborative work with a critical eye and having honest yet civil exchanges about how to streamline and improve their collaborative efforts helps students identify and correct self-defeating work habits. At its core, then, effective collaborative learning emphasizes student empowerment. When carried out effectively, collaborative learning enables and permits students to create, construct, and share knowledge through close work with their teammates. Because students enjoy considerable independence from the instructor, they learn to regulate their choices and related actions more effectively than when they depend on the instructor to do so for them. In the process, greater self-awareness and deeper learning occur, and new knowledge is retained for much longer than via traditional lectures, quizzes, and exams, for example. There are important points to keep in mind for the collaborative learning approach to work well, however. As teaching expert and Professor John Spencer points out, effective collaborative learning builds on mutual trust, shared vulnerability, vision, and values between students, as well as a constant state of interdependence, a tight team culture, and the long-term generation of ideas together. When students work in parallel, as they tend to do in the more teacher-centered cooperative learning approach, this valuable interchange, mutual support, and deeper level of learning does not occur to quite the same degree. A less readily apparent advantage of collaborative learning is that the approach also prepares students to function within the globalized digital economy of the 21st century following graduation. Not only are you, the students, helping each other learn about course material through your teamwork each week, but you are also cultivating an array of personal skills that are directly transferable to the working world. Such skills include intellectual openness, mental agility, emotional resilience, self-awareness, attention to detail, comfort with regular communication and collaboration, careful planning, personal and team organization, problem solving, time management, consistency, and ownership of your mistakes as well as your successes. Collaboration has been a feature of the corporate and business world for some time at this point. However, hiring managers in many industries report that recent graduates lack appreciable skills when it comes to working efficiently as part of a team, committee, or work group. Practicing and refining your collaborative skills now, then, enables you to hit the ground running and stand out in the best way possible as you begin your professional life. And with that, we come to the end of another WSTKS-FM Worldwide podcast. Thank you for joining me this time and every time. I'll see you in class, online, or during Zoom office hours if you drop by with a question. Have a safe and productive week in the meantime. With special regards from Onyx, the cat what am. So long, everyone. You've just heard a podcast from WSTKS-FM Worldwide. Digital collaborative learning for the 21st century.